Singapore has quite a significant role if it comes to wildlife, although if you ask someone on the street, they might deny that because we don't see it everywhere and we don't see it anymore.
I will now introduce our next speaker, Mr. Kim Stengert, who is the Director of Communications at WWF. You have some fans in the house tonight.
Some pandas right there, thank you
Lots
very
of
much.
pandas. Amazing. Well, Kim, thank you so much for joining us and for having us here as well. Let's set the scene for everyone a little bit here. Tell us a bit about yourself and WWF in Singapore.
Sure. So I moved to Singapore about 3 years ago, very new to WWF, to the world of environmental protection. But I think it took a week or so until I got hooked and passionate for the cause. One of my hidden passions is palm oil and climate change. And I think that's right down the alley of WWF Singapore. Here in Singapore, we mainly focus on 4 key issues. I think that is obviously the haze deforestation, it's climate change, it is sustainable seafood and the protection of our oceans, and working with businesses and markets and companies to see how we can trigger change for thousands and millions.
So you work on all 4 campaigns, I understand, but was there one in particular that really got you very passionate, that you personally kind of championed for in your own life as well?
Yeah, I think palm oil is one of those, and especially with the haze crisis. Coming from Germany, the Black Forest, which is well known for the best air in the country.
And dessert.
Yes. And you land in Singapore and you're shredded with 3 months of haze and PSI. And for the first time, I was faced a situation where my kids couldn't go out, schools closed down, and that obviously, fueled that passion. Sorry for the pun. But yeah, so it's palm oil, and it's the Brief What We Buy campaign that we did in 2015, where we connected our daily consumption choices like toothpaste, lipstick, all of these things, and what effect they have on the forests and in return on the air we breathe. And that is, yeah, really my passion point.
Yeah, I think that's a really important one, and obviously would have really been ignited through living in Singapore. Maybe it wouldn't have been a passion if you were still in Europe, so yeah, that's really interesting. So we're obviously here in the lead up to Earth Hour, which is happening this weekend, so maybe share with us a little bit more about Earth Hour and kind of what the significance of the event is and kind of the impact you're hoping for 2017.
Sure. So Earth Hour is one of my favorite things, to be very honest, because it is a grassroots movement. It is not us dictating what you need to care about. It is taking the power of the people, empowering people. It's, use your power to, put it into something that you really care about, no matter where you are. The symbolic lights of, obviously now in 178 countries shows just the sheer strength and the millions of people that support climate change movement, that want to stand up and see action on climate. And it really showcases how one of our mottos, together possible. All it takes is all of us, right? Just coming together, acting, standing up, screaming for change, and it will happen, as we've seen in Paris, for example.
Yeah, I think that's really inspiring, especially the story of it coming from grassroots and just the power of community. You know, everyone can make a difference and we're stronger together. Yeah. Or better, what is
all it takes is all of us.
Yeah.
Together possible, yes. Together
possible, that was it. That's really beautiful. Okay, so I want to kind of unpack. This year, Earth Hour is really promoting 3 particular causes, forest, ocean, and wildlife. So let's start with forests, which are really the lungs of the planet. And every second, we're kind of destroying acres of rainforest. So kind of tell us a little bit more about the current situation with forests and sort of the role that WWF plays.
Sure, I think especially important for us is drawing back to the haze issue here in Singapore. So if we look at forests in Indonesia, the lush green forest that we used to have, Sumatra has lost 55% of forests in the last 3 decades. Last year, or in 2015, 2 million hectares, and that is impossible to describe. Singapore is 70,000 hectares. We've lost 2 million hectares of rainforest due to burning and the haze in total. So the situation is crazy. It is dire and it needs a lot of action.
And so what does WWF do to kind of support or to, as part of the forest chapter?
There's a lot of different things. Like all complicated problems, they come with a lot of different solutions. I think we try to tackle it from many different ends. One, of course, is working with companies to use certified sustainable commodities like pulp and paper products, like certified sustainable palm oil. We try to raise awareness and action of consumers, asking their favorite brand to switch to the certified sustainable options. At the same time, of course, behind closed doors, we help work on policies. We help draft change and act on it. So I think it's a multi-stakeholder approach that we're driving from all different options and trying to see where can we have the biggest impact. But just as much, we're supporting a lot of field work in Indonesia. So a lot of the funds that we raise through our regular donors are going into projects right into the field, which is re-retting peatlands, blocking canals. We have an elephant patrol in Tesonilo National Park, and these guys actually monitor the national park to prevent fires from happening. We have firefighting equipment that we fundraised for before, which is put to good use now and stopped, I think, 20, 30 hotspots just in the last couple of months. So it's all from all different angles, from the field up to the corporate desk, I would say.
Yeah, wow, incredible amount of work and different projects and working with different communities there. So obviously all the burning of the forest and the haze and everything has a huge effect on wildlife, which is one of the second cause that Earth Hour is promoting. So tell us a little bit about that impact as well.
Sure, I think Singapore has quite a significant role if it comes to wildlife, although if you ask someone on the street, they might deny that because we don't see it everywhere and we don't see it anymore. But I think if we see the species that are endangered, critically endangered, if we just think about Sumatran tigers, only 371 left in the wild. If we think about pandas, 1,700 that are left. A lot of these animals are under immense pressure. Yeah, I think we need to come together realizing and drawing these conclusions. If you have more Facebook followers than there are animals left of a certain species, we really need to act rather quickly. I think for Singapore and WWF, a lot of the solutions lie in stopping illegal wildlife trade that comes through our very effective, efficient ports in Singapore, upping legislation to make sure that if someone is caught, the punishment is severe, and yeah, stop this actually organized crime from happening all across the region, but particularly on its way through Singapore.
Absolutely, and I think that analogy of comparing it to Facebook followers or Instagram likes, it's really scary when it does get down to, like, you can literally compare that, so that's terrifying. And the third cause is about our beautiful oceans, so tell us a little bit about kind of where we're at with that and again, what WWF is doing.
So sustainable seafoods sustainable seafood became my passion, I think, when Missy's Corner, which is a nasi lemak stall at Changi Airport, switched to sustainable seafood a couple of months ago. That was a very inspiring move for me to see how that very popular hawker stall actually acts once they understood what dire situation our oceans are in as well. The oceans, generally, if we look at it, the global fishing fleet is about 3 to 4 times the size of what we could produce sustainably. So just on the same front, it is massive impact. And it's one particular example where you see that every single choice that you make every day in our daily lives, a lot of the choices we don't think about anymore, actually can have a massive impact. If you go down to the wet market and ask one of the fishmongers down there, they will tell you, well, my kuning used to be, last year it was 10% cheaper, the year before it was even 10% cheaper, and now all I see is increasing prices, and the fish actually gets smaller, smaller, and smaller because we start fishing juvenile fishes out of the sea. So again, it's together possible. If we all make some conscious and sustainable choices, then we can turn the situation around.
Absolutely. I think it's really just realizing the amount of power that we have as consumers, that we can vote with our wallets, and that really we need to be the change that we want to see in the world. As corny as it sounds, it's still a beautiful way to look at it. So it is quite a scary world. And so I guess for people that really want to start making a stance and start making a change, what are some things that they can do on these 3 different issues?
I think, to be honest, and you just showcased that perfectly for me, we have so many fantastic initiatives in Singapore now. Find one, hold on to it, and really drive it home as well. But I think that one of the key things is find something you're passionate for, and anyways, you can't sleep then, and you want to make it happen, and sleep can wait, as we see everywhere around this beautiful event. I think what I would love people to do is make more conscious choices again. We have convenience stores, we have everything at our fingertips, and we don't know how hard it is anymore to actually grow a chicken. We don't know how hard it is to get that loaf of bread on the table. We don't know what goes into it, and that's why we've somehow lost appreciation for it. And food waste is a great example of that. It is a huge problem, right? And I think when we go back and make sure that we think about the decisions we make, do I need to pick up that plastic bottle of water, or can I bring my own bag? And it's a lot of these tiny things that add up into an incredible amount of change if we do it together.
Absolutely. And so you are really talking about behavioral change, which is a big part of your role as well. So is there kind of a sweet spot, or how do we actually kind of help people to really make that behavioral change? How can we sort of do that on a mass scale?
If I only knew, right? I think there's certain points we're getting closer. I think one of the key things is building appreciation for something. And that's, I think, as well why one of our focuses here in Singapore is education. So we have a big education team. They're reaching out to 100,000 students a year here in Singapore alone. They take some of the schools, and they have stunning results, to look at their water, their plastic, their all kinds of parts in the school, and really act on it. But the most important thing is no one will change unless they have that appreciation for nature and have that appreciation for wildlife, or even just clean air. So I think we just need to change perception a little bit and find what will rock your world and what will get you to act for the planet and for the future of the next generations.
Absolutely. So yeah, I like that. Rock your world. Find what rocks your world and what's really going to allow you to ignite that passion and that change inside you. So let's talk a little bit about some of the wonderful campaigns that WWF is running and how, like in Singapore.
Sure, yeah. So I think mentioned the palm oil haze campaign, which we were running with the very, very lovely guys at PM Haze, which is a wonderful volunteer-driven organization fighting in schools, fighting with restaurants to use sustainable palm oil. And I think it was a huge success. We'll definitely this year see the next version of that as soon as we'll hit probably June, July. And unfortunately, some of the burning will come back due to less rains in Sumatra. At the same time, we'll take the sustainable seafood movement forward, I hope. And I hope all of you will be able to bring you more choices on sustainable nasi lemak or sustainable fish head curry and some of the other yummy dishes we have here in Singapore. We're working on a sustainable seafood cookbook with some very, very interesting chefs in Singapore and across the region, and on a lot of other surprises we'll launch over the next 6 months.
Exciting. Really, really inspiring campaigns. I think it's something quite easy for people to get involved in as well. So if you are looking to start or with a change, then there's a few great examples there where you can hopefully rocked your world a little bit. And so you've given us so much great food for thought here, but if there was one simple parting thought or one action that you would advise everyone to take tomorrow or even today, if they can, what would that be?
I think it's really going back to thinking about what am I picking up out of the shelf. And as painful as it may be, but check the ingredients list of your favorite product. And then dig in for 5 minutes and see if you should really buy that product. If you should continue to be loyal to that brand. Does that brand share your values? Does that brand stand for good deforestation-free products? Does it stand for sustainable products? And just go through your shopping list once. All of us have favorite brands, right? So you just need to do it actually once or twice. And then you can make sure your shopping cart is sustainable, and that will have massive implications on companies. And many, many times when we work with companies, what we hear is consumers don't demand it. And that is one of the key problems. And so help me trigger change in these boardroom meetings by demanding sustainable products.
Yes, that's a beautiful, beautiful parting thought. Well, thank you so much, Kim, for joining us and for sharing.
Thank you very much.
That was really inspiring. Thank you. And thank you to WWF.